Alright, I got here a Toyota Tacoma. I think like a 12 or 13. And they say it's a crank no start. Let's see. Just want to see where the key light is. I don't know, it's almost starting. It sounds like it's no fuel to me. What's the fuel gauge on? Full. Where's the key light on these? Oh, it's up there. Alright, so the key light's flashing. And now it's off. Okay, so it's not a key issue. Alright, I need to put a booster on here. Alright, I'm just going to stick a booster on this. Okay. I just want to hear it crank for longer. Alright, so it definitely cranks hard. Okay, good. Now, I'm going to be using this scan tool. It's made by a company called Mucar. It's identical to this guy, the ThinkScan 69BT. It works the same also. I've been using it. They sent it to me. I mean, they didn't tell me what to say, but they did send it to me. We got a hyper tough dongle in here. Alright, the only difference between this tool and the other one, they're literally identical. Everything. The top, the back, holds the thing the same. One says Mucar, one says ThinkScan. The difference is this one has some AI stuff built in. It's like, let's do a VIN scan. Toyota, it's 2012. Okay. All right. I just want to see maybe there's a data pit for fuel pressure on these. I'm not sure. No, I think this doesn't have a high pressure fuel pump, so I'm probably not going to see much. Just to make sure there's no codes. All right, we have 6 codes in the ECM. But looking at this, they're most likely history codes because there's nothing in generic OBD. So they're probably either permanent codes or, I don't know, maybe history. Alright, startability malfunction, which is nothing. Secondary air injection system switching valve. Catalyst efficiency below threshold. Tank 1, shortened secondary air injection system. Alright, these are all permanent codes. Secondary air injection cruise. Alright, nothing too important. Let's see, let's just go into ECM, read data stream. Let's just look at the basics. Right, mass airflow sensor. All right, we're at 1.87 grams a second, which I think is high for a thing being off. 5. Alright, I'm just going to quickly unplug the MAF because I don't like how it's at 1.8 grams. We got a cold air intake. Alright, unplug the MAF quickly. Aftermarket assembly. Alright, still nothing. But the 1870 is still there. So that's most likely just a generic thing that it puts there. It is flashing 4 low, but that wouldn't stop from starting. Alright, let's plug the mass airflow back in. I want to check fuel pressure, or at least spray brake clean inside. What's the easiest way? Right here, I guess. Alright. Alright, I'm just going to spray some here. See if it just starts for a second. And it's starting. And it's stalled. Okay. Alright, so we have a fuel issue. So let me go look at, let's go check fuel pressure. Alright, I got this plumbed into the side. I don't know if it's the return or not, but we'll see anyway. Alright, I'm gonna crank it. Alright, so there's no fuel coming here. Alright, let's go down and check down this fuel pump circuit. Alright, let's go get a diagram. Alright, let's see, we got here, let's get a diagram. Let's go to powertrain management, engine controls. Okay. Let's find the fuel pump. Okay, here's the fuel pump relay, here's the actual fuel pump. There's a fuel control ECU, which gets battery power from the fuel pump relay, which is in the engine room junction box, which has a fuel pump fuse that gives power to hot at all time fuse that feeds the fuel pump relay, and then the relay is grounded the whole time. And what turns it on? Let's see. This is the ECM. This must be the ECM. Alright, the ECM turns on the relay, and then it gives power directly to this fuel pump control ECU in the fuel tank assembly, and that feeds power and ground to the actual pump. And this thing also has its own ground, and I don't know what these two are, but fuel pump control. Oh, there's another wire that controls the fuel, probably the pressure coming from the engine. And DI, I don't know what that is, but it's not important for right now. Okay. Alright, so right now we're going to check this fuse and relay, see what we got. Let's see if we can find it. So here's the fuse box. It's right here. That makes life a lot easier. In this heat, when my computer makes a fan noise, last night I was trying to find the leak in the AC system, and I had the thing filled up with nitrogen, and I was convinced I heard the leak, but it was coming from my computer. Alright, here is the fuel pump relay. Let's get a test light. Hook it to battery negative. If I find the power, it lights up. So the two big pins are always on Toyota, at least on these things, is the load side, and that's the control side. So we're going to go to, one of these has to be powered constantly, and it is. Now this, I should see a ground, because it should go through the module to ground. Alright, so I hit a ground, it lights up. So over here, I think it's this one, right? Yeah, okay. Over here, I have a very, very dim ground. Either that means there's a bad ground to the pump, the wire's a little bit ripped, or this module doesn't give enough current through it because it's a module, not the actual pump. So it's not a conclusive test. But let me just make sure I should have a constant ground on one of these, and I do. And now this should get power when the car is cranked. Well, actually it's giving power right now. So that means if I put this relay in, it should click. And it does. Okay. Now I'm pretty sure that it's not the bad relay because I saw there's not bad ground on that side. But just, you know, to be sure, I'm gonna swap this relay. Yeah, let's just crank it, see if it starts. It's not going to. Okay, good. One more time. All right, so I gotta go down to this pump now and see what the story is. Well, I'm under the car. Here's the fuel tank. I see some wires, but right here, I don't know what this is to, but we got two wires twisted together, and it's a blue and a red. That was the two wires going to the pump, but it can't be these because these are way too thin. So, I don't know. This could be for some of the other codes that we had. I'll let the shop know about that. Wait, but here, this must be the module. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so these are feeding the pump. This is zip tied in. I wonder if they replaced this already. Don't tell me anything. No, okay. Okay, this is the green, the DI. This is the command. This is the ones going to the actual pump. So this must be the power, and the white and black on Toyota is always the ground. I'm gonna check on the diagram to verify. But I'm also gonna get my heavy gauge test light. We'll just check for power and ground coming out of this, and then we'll know if it's a bad fuel pump or not. All right, just to double check. So the black is the B+, that's the battery voltage, and the white and black is the ground. Okay, so we're gonna check. I'm gonna take a test light, go across it, just to make sure we have a power and ground on these two wires, and then we can check these two wires. And then if we have power and ground here, then we're gonna assume it's in the fuel pump itself. If we do not have power and ground here, then we're dealing with the wiring issue to this module. Or if we have here but not here, then we're assuming with a bad fuel pump control module. All right, so under the truck, let's see. Okay, so that's the ground right here. And that's the power. And we got a nice bright test light. All right, so we got good power and ground. Now, do we have power and ground coming out? That's one side. I'm gonna have someone crank it for me. All right, he's gonna crank it now. And we got a light right here. The module's doing its job. Let me just bang on the tank. Okay, start again. So where is the actual pump? It's under a sealed thing. All right, I can't get straight to this pump. Alright, so I disconnected one. I think this is the main line. I want to check for pressure down here in case I messed up somewhere over there. Alright, and I got no pressure there either. So I got to get to the actual pump to verify 100%, but it looks like it just needs a fuel pump or it's out of gas. Alright, so they just verified with the customer that he actually filled it up with gas before. So, it's most likely a fuel pump. I can't be positive unless I check at the fuel pump, which I can't reach. So I told them to drop the tank, and they want me to come back and actually check it. So tomorrow they're gonna drop the tank and I'll come back and check if it needs a fuel pump. But if not, I'll let you know what happens. All right, thanks for watching. All right, I'm back on this Tundra. They got the tank lowered, and this pin right here is clearly stretched and it got burnt a little bit. I don't know if I can get a good picture of it, but that is the blue, it's the red wire, which is the power wire coming in. So I'm going to put a test light across this. We're going to command the pump on just to make sure we have actual power here. And then I guess we'll just test on the pump. I'll try to tighten it up and see if it's the actual pump or not. So they were telling me there was a bypass wire, but that's what I saw already the other day. That was the wire by the evap for this red wire by the evap. I don't know what that is. I'm not getting involved in that. But this is just clearly a stretched pin that I can't tell if it's fully melted or it's just stretched. Really, it should get a new connector. All right, let me get a test light on it and then I'll try to command it on. All right, so I got it back probed right over here. I gotta get a scan tool plugged in. All right, I'm pulling it up now. Uh-oh. What happened? Did the battery die and kicked me out? So there's a jump box on it. I think it died and it kicked me out. All right, he put the booster back on. It fell off. Toyota. I'm not gonna do the full scan. I'm just gonna go straight into the engine. System selection, powertrain, engine. Alright, we're gonna go to actuation tests. Activate the fuel pump. Here. Control the fuel pump duty or control the fuel pump speed. I guess duty cycle. Okay. We don't need monitoring. I say click the monitoring data. Just select. Alright, doesn't matter. Okay. Select voltage. Okay, now I'm going to put it on 80% right here. I'm going to see if this light goes on. Alright, it should be on 80% now. Alright, it's not lighting up. So is my connection bad? Yeah, my connection was just bad on the negative side. So there we go, that's 80%. Let's go down to 25. It dims up to 80. It gets brighter. So the wiring is good. Now, the question is the pump good? Or is it just this terminal right here? So I'm going to try to tighten this terminal up, and then we'll see if this pump works. Let's see if I can just tighten it up with this little screwdriver or something. My test light. Okay, I made it tighter. Now let's lift this up. So I'm going to lift this up. And then we're going to see if it shoots fuel. Alright, the pump's plugged in. The pump is plugged in. It doesn't feel like it's clicking in, but it's definitely plugged in. Alright. Now let's go see if we can make a mess. Where was it? Activate fuel pump. Control the fuel pump duty cycle. Okay, I'm just gonna put on no monitoring data. And then we're gonna go on to 25%. And there we go. How do I stop it? Okay, so it's working. The question is, was it just the pin? I think it was. They really should just replace this connector. That's what I would do, because the pin is a little bit melted. But it is working, so it wasn't a pump, it was just a loose pin, which I don't know, probably happening because it was loose and then it arced. It makes heat, which burnt the pin a little bit. Looking at this connector over here, it's also melted on the connector. You see it got all melted on the pin. So the customer wants to replace the pump and replace the pigtail once it's apart. So that's what they're gonna do. Alright, thanks for watching. Alright, about the scan tool, so it's identical to the other one. It works just as good as the other one. Now, they have something called, this is their intelligent assistant, which is pretty much an AI for fixing cars. Like, you put in your problem, it will give you the top ideas. It also, like when you have a code, you could click on it and there's a button and it will give you what it thinks the problem can be. There's also something called Dollar Fix Community, which is some social media site about fixing cars. I don't know, I'm not a social media guy. Besides posting on YouTube, that's about all the social media I do. But if you're into that type of stuff, it's good. It has everything else that the other one has. I haven't noticed. I've been using both of them back and forth. I haven't really noticed any difference. They're both the same quick. They're both lifetime updates. They both work with auto auth, even though I did not register this one yet. I'm assuming it works. There's regular diagnose. It graphs 4 data PIDs. Here's the upgrades. I don't know if I'm connected. I'm not connected to the internet right now. But yeah, between these two, they're really, really great scan tools. It might not be your first because, you know, it only graphs 4 data PIDs and it doesn't have topology, but as a spare backup to I keep one in my personal car, so I always have you know, a tool in there. It doesn't run out of subscription. It has a C charger. It says the voltage on the screen. It's Bluetooth, and I actually almost forgot that here, but yeah. All right, thanks for watching.